Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is Sunday, March 6, 2022, and my name is Deb Harris, and I'll be your worship associate today. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, races, ages, and backgrounds. It's wonderful to see all our vaccinated members in the sanctuary today, and also welcome to those of you on YouTube as well. To be put on the email list or to find out more information about us, please go to tcuuc.org. Note that there is an email link to request our online newsletter. And now, just to be sure that you've silenced your cell phones. Good. And we'd like to welcome, I think we have one visitor today. We'd like to welcome any visitors, either from a distance or here. And if you're comfortable to step up to the microphone and introduce yourself, we'd welcome you to do that. Okay, well, welcome. We're glad you're here. A couple of announcements. Starting tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Cards and Games is going to be restarting. So if you have time at 1 o'clock tomorrow, join in Cards and Games. Also, the first and third Tuesdays of every month, there is a brown bag lunch at noon at the Stewart Veterans Memorial Park. So hopefully people will join there. Thank you to the people who helped with today's service. Jackie Robbins, of course, for her beautiful music. Our greeters, ushers, our host, Karina Poloni. We thank too Joanne Leone and Marguerite Gregory for actual coffee and cookies on the patio. And we thank and welcome our guest minister for today, the Reverend Dr. John Brown III. He's going to be speaking to us on the challenge of renewing our faith. Reverend John is a retired ordained United Methodist minister and also a fellow in the American Association of Pastoral Counselors. He serves as a pastoral psychotherapist, has done years of counseling in New York and Florida, and currently serves as a ministerial associate at the Vero Beach UU Fellowship. And we're always glad when he's here with us. And now he's going to light our chalice. The chalice lighting words today are from Deborah Falk. A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that envisions a world flourishing with equality for all her people, a faith that demands a living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is the symbol of the spark of all of this within each of us. And now, Karina will put up a PowerPoint, have some opening words to share. Like people everywhere, I've been horrified by the tragic attack on Ukraine. Adding to that situation are all the other acts of racism and violence and hatred and selfishness, even over vaccines and masking. It seems these acts increase daily. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. I catch myself thinking and feeling and saying that I've lost all faith in humanity, in people. So I was really glad when Reverend John's sermon today is going to address renewing our faith. It's certainly timely. I want to address the idea of renewing our faith in people. Last night, there was a news segment that showed cars lined up at one of the border stops in Poland. And these were cars that had come from all over Europe. And people had come to pick up the Ukrainian refugees and to take them wherever they needed to go, to offer them a place to stay. That'll renew your faith in people. And that reminded me of the wonderful Fred Rogers, known as Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And his very famous quote, he said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.' To this day, especially in times of disaster, I remember my mother's words, and I'm always comforted by realizing that there are still so many helpers, so many caring people in the world." There are many caring people in the world, and we need to sort of follow them and hold on to them and keep them in our minds. One person who I find especially inspiring and really helps me remember that people are good, there are good people, is Chef Jose Andres. And I put together some of his words. I pulled them from various interviews, so they're not in any order that he said them, but they're kind of pulled from different places and combined. But words I thought you might find inspirational too. He said, "We are all citizens of the world. What's good for you must be good for all. If you are lost, share a plate of food with a stranger. You will find who you are." He also said, "We're showing people that when we organize ourselves, nothing can stop us. We show that bringing hope, one plate of food at a time, is forceful. We show that you don't need the big budgets. Sometimes all it takes is empathy." I think most people know that Chef Andres began a foundation called the World Central Kitchen. And it started in 2010 after the earthquake in Haiti. He was one of the first people there, and he fed literally thousands and thousands of people. But he didn't only rally people on the island to serve food. He also established a children's home there for 200 kids. And then he set up a bakery so that those kids would have income, would also learn a skill, and would teach them a profession. And then that led to him opening a restaurant and a cooking school there that still to this day graduates Haitian women every year. Since 2020, it's both wonderful and sad that there's such a need. The World Central Kitchen has served meals every single day of every year, somewhere in the world. Guatemala, Madagascar, Brazil, Peru, Zambia, Northern California, Colorado after the fires. He's often the first responder to arrive in an area of need and the last to leave, as he was in the Bahamas and in Puerto Rico, where instead of throwing paper towels at the people, he served over 4 million meals. When COVID hit, he fed people who were stuck on a cruise ship in Japan. And he currently has a ship heading for Tonga. He's already set up 8 feeding locations in Poland, Romania, Moldavia, Hungary, and also inside Ukraine. The very first night of the attack, I was talking with Tia, and I said, I bet he's already there, and he was. He was en route on a plane, already there. Some of his words. Many of you are thinking, what can I do? I think it's up to every one of us to start speaking up every time we see things that are unjustified. When we're silent and look to the side, the bad people always win. Success is about using your skills and talents to do something bigger in the world. Even if the light still seems very far away, nonetheless, humans, we're all about the light. Humans, we're not about the darkness. Even in the most beautiful dark night, we love the beautiful stars or the moon lighting our way somewhere. We will keep food flowing in the day and the nights. We will be there next to them. Ukraine, you will never walk alone. Some words to keep with you. And now let us sing our first hymn to our masks. It's number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. enthusiastic today. And now let us recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second through our masks. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now let us share our personal joys and sorrows. If you'd like to share, please step up to the microphone to speak. Tell us your name first. Move a stone in our symbolic river of life to mark your joy or sorrow. And share with us anything that you like.
Good morning. I'm John, and my joy is music, the music that we're hearing today, and also I wanted to thank everyone who came to that coffee house. The band really enjoyed it, and wanted me to thank you. We really appreciate your being there and your influence.
Janet's going to move 2 stones, one for you and one for all of us, because we enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah.
So, and we hope you'll come back.
Hi, my name is Tia Reed, even though I forgot to put my name tag on. My joy is that this weekend, some really, really dear friends from Virginia came down and rented a house in Fort St. Lucie, and we spent all day yesterday together. She used to be a volunteer for me when I worked in the mental health in Fairfax County. She started when she was in high school. She volunteered all through high school and college, and went on to become a lawyer. And now she has 2 little children, one 7 and one 9, and the 9-year-old, who has been calling me Auntie Tia, learned in school that Tia means aunt in Spanish, and now he's calling me Auntie.
I'm Judy Majoris, and I just want to share with all of you the joy it's been to have our friend Karen from our church, and that was we're friends for the last many years together, and it's just been a joy to have her here. She's met a lot of you already at the Brown Bag Lunch and at the concert, and so she's going to come on. But, you know, all the things that have been.
Hi, I'm Jackie Robbins, and I mentor a lot of young artists, and this one young man, Adam Savage, at age 16, he's a violist. He got into Juilliard, and he flew back down to be with his family, brought another colleague who's also at Juilliard, and I put together, with the help of Doug Jewett, a little concert, a recital, because COVID hit, so he didn't ever get to play the concerto, the competition he won recently. Trinity United Methodist Church on this Wednesday, 1:30 at 2 o'clock, I don't know the address. It might be the one on Savannah. But if I let you know, if you like classical music, there'll be a pianist, collaborative pianist from Universalist. It's only an hour, but they need challenge of having an audience because they're young and until they get a few years into the junior book, they don't get a chance to do recitals. So that's a joy for me to keep coming to this level. Thanks.
Well, for those whose joys or sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you. Jenna over the storm for you. And now, meditation.
What a week we've all had. For many, it's been a pain-filled time with countless emotions of anger, of confusion, of sorrow, perhaps hope. I venture to say that all of us are saddened and confused and upset by what is going on in Ukraine. In fact, over 1.4, at least 5 million people have left that country, and hundreds of people have been killed, according to the United Nations agencies. Alarm rippled worldwide after a Russian projectile certainly caused a fire in a building at Europe's largest nuclear plant in southeastern Ukraine early on Friday. And thank goodness no change in surrounding radiation levels. Although I was told this morning that there is a special institute right now that has been bombed where there is some radiation in that building, and some research has been done in the area of nuclear energy. As friends and members certainly of the Christian Fellowship of War or special events, whatever one might call it, certainly this kind of violence is not an option. The path really of peace which is our priority, and we are called as Unitarians to pursue that at all times. And we are so fortunate that our country does not at this point have boots on the ground or planes in the air. And there's no doubt I certainly feel helpless and grief over the losses in Ukraine. Like yourselves, I have watched the TV interviews and listened to the screams and the sounds of pain. We have and may continue to sacrifice for peace in this country, and patience is certainly not an easy exercise, especially if inflation will continue to rise and the cost of fuel will become more expensive. And yet, we are people of love and justice and hope. So this morning, I'd like to do a responsive reading from the back of the hymnal, and I would ask that your response to my statements be, "We give thanks this day." And I will give you the cue when you will respond. It's 512 if you do have the hymn book, if you'd like to follow, but you don't need to because I'll be glad to read it. For the expanding grandeur of creation, world known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, we give thanks this day for this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and its seasons. We give thanks this day for the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and its achievements. We give thanks this day for our human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcendent all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, especially in Ukraine this day. We give thanks this day for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. We give thanks this day for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and unity. We give thanks this day for human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. We give thanks this day. We pray that we may not live by our fears, but by our hopes. not by our words, but by our deeds.
The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a way to collect pledge money, although that's important, but it's also an opportunity to recommit to this place and to our UU community. The offering is a symbolic way to say yes to something we value. It's a way to show that we're saying yes to the values of our faith. We thank you now for our generous offering.
On behalf of the Pledge Committee, Bill, Jerry, and myself, each week we have somebody to go up and talk about the church and what it means to be a UU. And this week, Ronnie will be talking about what it means to be a UU.
Did you do a big one now?
Huh?
The fourth pledge?
Yeah,
Go sit down. You gonna take the pledge while I'm talking?
yeah, I'm gonna take the pledge while you're talking.
I forgot to tell you.
Sorry. Hi. I'm Ronnie Bassey, unfortunately married to Fred. But my road to being a UU started many, many years ago because I had an aunt and uncle who were always Unitarians, and they were socialists, and they were actors, and they were in the 20s for them. And so I never thought it was a strange group of people, which so many people have that kind of idea. But anyhow, the very next time I ever did anything with the Unitarians was after my divorce, and when my son was 7, I decided, since I married 2 Catholics, this one's the other.
Not at the same time.
No, not my first Catholic husband, and I was raised Jewish, so there really wasn't a place for us to go. But then I decided after my divorce that my son needed to have Sunday school and all that, just a little intimidating. And Judy Clow last week told you about how she went after her divorce to Schenectady. Well, that's where I went too. It's very coincidental. And I went a few times, and my son made a big fuss and wouldn't go back to Sunday school. And I thought I was very hurt by then, and I thought everybody was too intellectual and for me, and we just stopped going. Now comes Fred, and we get married, and again, there's a Catholic and a Jewish person, and we go to live in Louisiana because he's setting up a doctoral program. And in Louisiana, there wasn't a lot of like-minded people. But the Unitarians. So we joined a Unitarian congregation there that there was 25 of us, and we even had a Sunday school, which was unbelievable. And we didn't even have a minister. But somebody had to speak every time we had it, which was only twice a month. Even I got up and spoke about different things. But anyhow, so then we came back to Florida, so now we were hooked. And what it means to me is community. And that is always very important to me, to have love and community in my life and share with other people. And so we came here to the Unitarian Universalist congregation, the Treasure Coast, and I immediately met Enid Johnson, and she has passed, and many of you older members know her, took me in her arms and never let me go, and got me involved, and to this day, all these years later, since 2008, I am so involved and so happy to be here, and that's what it means to be community, love, and sharing. Thank you.
Dan, it's a record.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your offering. And now we're going to sing Spirit of Life. We will hum the first verse and then sing it the second time
Spirit of life, come
And now Reverend John Brown.
I'd like to say how nice it is to be with you again this morning. Thank you very much for the special treats that we have following the service, and for ushers. And for Jackie, I want to thank you for the type of preparation you do, and the music and the feeling that you put into the music. It certainly is certainly evident as she plays this wonderful instrument that she does. And Debbie, for your kind words. And I know Debbie, talking with her prior to this service, she told me about some of her thoughts and feelings about faith. And I hope I can touch her as well as some of you this morning in this service. As I look back on my time as a youth minister, I saw each member of the group as sacred creations who I had faith in. Faith and trust were central themes in building a spiritual cohesion in our youth group and in the community. And to strengthen this opportunity, we engaged in trust exercises of letting go. Maybe you remember some of these exercises back in the 60s and 70s. We formed a circle where one person stood in the middle of the circle, put their arms like this, closed their eyes, and simply fell backwards. And then people pass that individual around. And then sometimes they take the person who's in the middle and shove them a little bit harder and go to the people across the circle. I can see by your response this is familiar. Well, for some people, they wouldn't even try this event. For others, it was terrifying. And for others, they realized that trust was required. Trust that they would survive. Trust the people who were with them would pass them safely around the circle. And they had to have faith too. Unfortunately, there was no harm in all the years that I've done it with our young people. We held this event because we wanted to renew faith in ourselves and that we could facilitate a safe environment within our youth program. I believe it's crucial that we don't take faith for granted, and that really we should renew our faith or trust again and again, particularly in these times with all that is happening in our personal lives, in our community lives, and in the lives of this nation and the nations on this earth. But what is faith? Faith may be at one end of the spectrum where we deny further evidence is needed. Faith may be at one end of the spectrum where we deny further evidence is needed. We have faith the other person will come through and will keep their word. It uses such phrases as, I just know. I believe my granddaughter will be safe. My child will be all right. The special dog loves me. I believe in some type of power. Trust, on the other hand, for some is only earned through experience and is strengthened and validated from others with phrases like, go for it. You've got this. We learn to trust ourselves through trial and error, whether it's trusting you can ride a bike, or to drive a car or to try something new. A sense of trust itself is often learned, even hard fought. To renew our trust or faith, I believe we need to engage in an internal dialogue between our beliefs and our faith. And since the rise of Christian fundamentalism in the past 40 or 50 years, we've tended to conflate faith and belief in our country. For example, quote, "You're only a true Christian if you adhere to these strict set of beliefs or Western sense of religious life." Humbug. Not true. I will also suggest, and that is not in line with these words are not in line with central Christian teachings. And sorting through this difference may become increasingly more important for our democracy as our nation unfortunately becomes more and more polarized over beliefs. We need to find our way back to our central values, and faith plays an important role in shifting to a modern understanding. I pray we will not become more polarized in this country than it is right now. Today, we need to renew our faith. And certainly faith demands a new worldview, a new orientation to life. I believe we are called now to renew our understanding, our perception of faith. For we are not to take faith for granted. Instead, we need to challenge again and again to what we truly believe and to certainly affirm the importance of this wondrous gift called life. So my first point today is in the form of this question. What do you have faith in this time in your life? Do you have faith in the relationship you have with a friend or a partner? Do you believe what they say, and is it genuine? Is their word sacred, or are you teetering, not sure? And how is your faith in the world of health? Do you believe that your doctor is serving you because he or she really cares for your physical well-being? And what about medication? Do you believe the medication you're taking will truly help you to heal? When we think in secrets it comes to pass, our world is but our looking glass. And so what we believe, what we have faith in, plays a central role, for example, in the healing process. And what about financial security? Financial security means being economically stable by having enough money saved to cover emergencies and future financial goals. I listened to a man the other day on the television, and he's spending $250 a week for gasoline for his travels to his work. Do you feel you have the knowledge and the skill to produce an adequate amount of security, financial security? How about retirement? And how about those of you who are going to retire? Do you feel you have enough money set aside for the retirement that's yet to come? And do you have faith that you're going to make it or survive in every sense of the word? For myself, I feel blessed that I have an adequate amount of money, but there are moments when I have feelings of unrest, uncertainty, even panic over our finances. Is my faith, is your faith strong in this concern? And as I grow older, I realize that my future security is not guaranteed. In fact, there was a friend who said to me when I entered into adulthood, there are no guarantees in life. I thought there would be. I thought we would have a life that was guaranteed. To me, the market, which holds some of my assets, is like the wind at times. It is high, and other times it starts to move at a rate which seems like a roller coaster, even this past week. So an important question is really, what can our money buy? A bed, but not sleep. A computer, but not a brain. Food, but not an appetite. Fighter, but not beauty. A house, but not a home. Medicine, but not health. Luxuries, but not culture. Amusements, but not happiness. Acquaintance, but not friends. Obedience is not obedience, but not faithfulness. Sex, but not love. Yes, to have faith, to have an active, renewed faith is a challenge for all of us this day. I'm aware, as you are, of the devastation and the unknown world that is still in front of the Ukrainians. Financial and emotional security certainly has touched the life of Anna Dovnia, a citizen Kyiv this past week, who said, until the very last moment, I didn't believe it would happen. I just pushed away the thoughts that we would be attacked. While she was in Kyiv, she watched terrified as soldiers and police remove shrapnel from an exploded shell. And she said, we have lost all faith. How is your faith? Do you feel you have lost it or you're struggling with it? Do you feel that you need to stop now in the midst of all the hustle and bustle of life and it is time to renew your faith? And is it true that courage, self-belief, faith, determination will serve you much better than constant search for financial security, and that in reality may not even exist because we are told there are no guarantees? So what really gets in the way of having faith or even renewing it brings me to the second point in the form of a question. What sabotages the process of renewing your faith and my faith this day? I would like to propose that spiritual arrogance is a major saboteur of a renewed faith. It is unfortunate that these two words go together, spiritual arrogance, because really they should not. It is sad to think that too often the religious have a reputation for the word pride rather than the word piety, which means religious, caring, being humble. People who practice spiritual arrogance have a strong temptation to glory in their reputation, their contributions, and their intellect. And their primary focus is placing themselves at the center of their faith. This major expression of arrogance, I must tell you, is known to all of us, and it is pride. Too often, the pride of knowledge is certainly evident in the minds of faith-oriented people, no matter what denomination you might be. There are some of us who think we know about the principles of Unitarianism, and at times we wear the knowledge as a badge of pride. We can even recite the principles, but do we really know? Do we truly understand? Do we truly practice the 7 Unitarian Universalist principles every day in our lives? I know I don't. I wish I could. I wish I could stand up here before you and say that I am the epitome of one who follows all of these principles. I'm not. I can recite them, but do I truly understand and practice them from my heart? I must tell you, the people who put those together were great minds, great thinkers, great feelers, because it's not easy to follow those principles. There are Christians, too, who also feel they are the Alpha and the Omega in interpreting Scripture. Someone in the grip of this kind of pride will think himself or herself to always be right in interpreting the written word. I listen to those people on TV, and some of them terrify me. Persons with this pride of knowledge believe they are absolutely right, and the other person is wrong, incompetent, or not very religious, or is stupid. Proverbs 16:18 reads, pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. The great Christian thinker Reinhold Niebuhr said it this way: back in my day, pride of knowledge always tries to obscure your partiality. Pride of knowledge always tries to obscure your partiality. Your pride wants you to think that other perspectives don't even exist. It doesn't want you to put the shoe on the other foot or walk a mile in someone else's shoes. It divorces you from truly being empathetic. It just wants you to think that your shoes are the only ones that matter. And when that happens, we are ignorant of our own ignorance. And when we use this form of sabotage, we show an offensive attitude of superiority. The words of C.S. Lewis certainly echo in my mind and heart when he said, the most cancerous of all attributes in the mind is that of pride. An almost constant companion to those who no longer have companions is a tendency to believe that they are always right. And when we examine this belief, this form of arrogance is exclusionary and costly. Which really brings me to my third point in the form of a final question. So how do we meet the challenge of a renewed faith? We need an antidote for spiritual arrogance or pride, and that is really based on an important question that relates to identity. For if we know our identity or understand it, we inevitably will know what to do or to say. So the question is, who are we to be? Well, we're certainly not to be spiritually arrogant. We can answer in the spirit of Ubuntu. In preparation for this sermon, I had not heard about this. And Ubuntu is very important. Is popularized in terms of philosophy or worldview. Its existence appeared in South Africa as early as the mid-19th century and literally means that a person is in a person through other people. That a person is in a person through other people. Now, certainly a person who really demonstrates Ubuntu is a person by the name of Nelson Mandela. Now, Nelson Mandela, we know a great deal about him, particularly as Unitarians. He has been one that has certainly given us many examples and served as a model in a variety of ways. He knew a great deal about Ubuntu. Through him, we achieve ourselves by sharing with others and caring for others, for those around us. We achieve ourselves by sharing with others and caring for those around us. And with this in mind, who I will be is deeply related to who we are as individuals and as a community. In essence, we are words who are impacted by other people. We are not to be disconnected human beings who pontificate about these particular words of knowledge and thoughts that separate ourselves or be spiritually arrogant. With Ubuntu, what hurts you hurts me. And when I am arrogant and that hurts you, I am impacted by your pain. And what heals you heals me. And what causes you joy causes me to rejoice. And what makes you sad also causes me to weep. So you can see that empathy is a central means for connecting with others. Empathy is an important part of Ubuntu. Empathy comes by connection, by being aware of the other before and after I speak. Reverend Karin, who is our interim minister right now in Vero Unitarian Fellowship, in one of her sermons said that we need to experience more, for his experience causes us to empathize, and that is a key for diminishing spiritual arrogance, so that we can also move into the process of renewing our faith. To empathize is a challenge when renewing our faith. This approach or empathy helps us to remove the barriers, so that we can renew. To empathize requires you and me not to be arrogant, but to be aware of the other person, and if they are truly seeing, understanding, and feeling at least some of the feelings as I am talking with them. One summer, I attended an ecumenical camp in Annaberg, Austria. 12 countries were represented, and there were young people who had come from college from all over the world. In that day, they were from behind the Iron Curtain. There were various campers from all types of professions as well. Most of us, though, were in college. And our task was to create a home for travelers. Well, I had a little bit of German, but I could not speak Czechoslovakian, nor could I speak Hungarian or some of the other languages that were there. And during the months I was there, I was with campers who really spoke in their languages and also did not know English and had a little bit of understanding of German as well. And they're also from different cultures too. But by being caring by being empathetic, patient, by truly trying to understand the motivation we had was certainly important. And above all, we were curious about each other. We slowly but surely became an effective community. We started to relate to one another, and the barriers that were up because of our culture and language started to dissipate. And many of them left. It was truly unbelievable. See, I believe that another vehicle for renewing our faith is certainly to be curious. When we are unsure about tomorrows, we need to have a faith with curiosity. As you heard, I was a minister, and still am a practicing psychotherapist or psychoanalyst. And I'm always amazed by the people who make change when they come in to understand problems they have and to heal their problems. And the ones who often make the most progress are those people who are curious. I have found that curious people are more energetic and happier. Research has shown curiosity was shown with higher levels of positive emotions, lower levels of anxiety, more satisfaction with life, and greater psychological and spiritual well-being. Certainly higher levels of emotion energize us to understand our faith. And when it comes to having faith, curiosity helps us to be more apathetic of others as well as their needs. A man one time was walking along a cliff, and he was daydreaming and wasn't watching what he was doing. And suddenly he went over the cliff, and he kept falling down, and thank goodness he was able to catch on to a branch at the last minute. And he held on for dear life, and he said, "Is there anybody up there? Help, help." After a while, a majestic voice boomed through the gorge. "I will help you, my Unitarian friend. But you must have faith, faith in me." Oh, yes, I have faith in something greater than myself. Then let go of the branch, boomed the voice. And there was a long pause. Then the man shouted, "Is there anybody else up there?" But curiosity involves being open to that which we do not know about, to be receptive to the tomorrows, but it means we also need to be realistic and not naive. In conclusion, to have a vibrant, renewed faith, we need to be affirm it is challenging, and we are called, if we are going to be different in life, to challenge our faith in this day and time, especially with all that is unfolding. We need to listen and listen carefully to ourselves and to those who are close to us. It also means listening to the voices of those in the margins, of our community of faith. We need to listen intently to those marginalized voices and to initiate conversation so that the truths also can be heard and understand. Our attitude needs to be that of Ubuntu. And the circle of faith community grows wider from the margins and not the center. We need to value the leadership and really the wisdom of people who are trans and or non-binary, those who are disabled, people of color, indigenous people, those who are poor, and those who have historically been and continue to be in oppressed communities. In closing, it is crucial to make a commitment to renew our faith. And if we are not careful, we can overlook the value of renewal and miss out on the opportunities for further growth and certainly enjoyment in life. When you and I make a commitment to renew our faith with empathy towards others, we engage in internal dialogue with our beliefs. And perhaps our beliefs need to be challenged, and perhaps, like yourself as well, certainly for me, many of them need to be updated. The process of updating stops the recalcification of outdated beliefs. In a committed relationship, that certainly holds true. For if you're not sure about what another person is saying, there's an old saying, if in doubt, check it out. Do not walk it out. You and I do not want to take for granted the expectations of a friend or a mate. For the danger is that assumptions can cause a relationship to become stale and to grow apart. And that which we have faith in certainly needs the commitment of time, energy, communication, to keep it live, a commitment to be vibrant, a commitment to be open and to be receptive. Commitment to humility in our relationship with life is vital to combat spiritual arrogance. And for myself, a way of coping with arrogance certainly is to reflect again and again on the Unitarian Universalist principles. They give wonderful insights and the pathways to work. They gave me a reality check also in how I'm operating in life. So finally, may our spiritual quests take us toward an understanding of what we trust and what we have faith in. And may we find language to describe these deepest trusts, our faith in times of challenge. And may we always know that all of us really are resilient, loving creatures held together in love, time and again, held together in love. Amen. We leave this gathered community of humor, commitment, and of service, but we don't leave our connection, do we? Our concerns and our care for each other, our service to each other and to the world, hopefully now and will always be a priority of this fellowship. I trust the renewal of your faith will continue after we leave this time together. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be patient, be hopeful, be well, be true, and be loving. Amen. Amen.
And now coffee and treats.